Good afternoon. Today is Monday, December 30th. This is a special meeting for the City Council of the City of Trinidad. Item 1 on the agenda is a public hearing for consideration of an ordinance amending the City of Trinidad's annual budget for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2024 and ending December 31st, 2024. The hearing is now open. Do I have any comments? Cheryl, are you going to come up and...
Good afternoon, Council. This is the second reading to amend the fiscal year 2024 budget as discussed in the prior meeting. The amendment includes a $1.17 million increase to the general fund, which includes $500,000 for the adoption of the animal shelter department, and then some transfers that have to be accounted for. $356,000 that we're transferring out to sewer for the Eagle Rock project. $312,000 for the purchase. It's from committed funds for the purchase of the Osola land property. And then also $1.6 million for the deferred gas write-off and $357,000 for the Saddle Road sewer bypass project, for a total of amending the budget by $3,125,445, taking the budget from $82,987,365 to $86,112,810. Any questions?
Any questions?
I do not have any questions. We've already discussed this.
Cheryl, just after all the transfers are complete, how much money will there be in the reserve?
I believe we're committing, well, the committed funds were, I think we committed $4.2 million.
Yes.
Okay.
Frank?
No.
Questions? Anybody?
I don't have anything. No questions. No questions.
We've been through this. Does anybody in the audience want to speak to an for or against? Okay. The hearing is closed. Item 1.1, second reading of an ordinance amending the City of Trinidad's annual budget for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2024 and ending December 31st, 2024. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Okay, so Ogletree motion, Shu second. Call the vote.
DeBono,
Yes.
Shu,
Yes.
Thurman,
Yes.
Trahell,
Yes.
Ogletree,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Griego.
Yes. Item 2, consideration of the Trinidad Golf Association's 1-year lease extension. Mr. Valentine, I guess that's you?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. So what you have in your packet is the lease extension for the year 2024, and I took that same extension and just changed the dates to for the year 2025 to give them another year of operations. The caveat is I've started to work on an overall lease/management RFP to go out, hopefully before I leave, and then that will give council and the new manager time to decide on the carry through with the golf course. If you have any questions, that's where it's at right now. I apologize. I came in and I know that you had a firm do a whole extensive study, and I was able to get those reports and look at them, and they're pretty high in the sky. At least the one to create 18 holes or 27 holes, and that's a great aspiration to have, but I think feasibly, we gotta get somebody in there to manage it. I know the association, we met with them probably 2 months ago, we being city staff, just to go over the existing agreement that was in place, and they were supposed to report mid-year. We got that a little late, but they came before council and reported all that. So with that said, in order to keep things moving up there, and I think it's best that we just renew this for a year and work toward an overall plan up there.
Ryan, do you have any questions?
Mr. Valentine, when you said that you were gonna send an RFP, what sort of time frame were you thinking on that?
I'm thinking that before I leave, I send it out, and then dates that come in, like proposal dates would probably come in May, June, somewhere in that time frame. You'd be able to go through the proposals, and the association can also put a proposal in to the RFP, and then there'll be time to either go with the association or a transition period.
And so if, hypothetically, say the RFP goes out and a different operator was selected, I mean, completely hypothetically, when would that operator start operation?
I would say the first of the year.
So a year from now?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that way, there would be a transition period. There's a lot of inventory that would have to be done and back and forth with whatever the association has and all their commitments. It gives the members time to kind of, the association starts collecting dues early to keep their operations going.
Right. The only other question I had is what was in our packet, is that the complete lease signed with the association, or is there any other, is there any outs if requirements aren't kept up or anything like that?
Yes, in the original lease agreement, there is I noticed that, it may not be, the lease may not be terminated by either party during the lease period except for just cause or mutual agreement of the parties. Should either party breach this agreement or any part thereof, the other may, upon the providing of at least 30 days written notice to the breaching party, terminate the lease.
Okay.
So that's in the original. This is amendment number 3 to that agreement, so.
Okay. Thank you. I have no further questions.
Naaman, do you have any
No,
questions?
no questions.
Annie?
You answered my question.
Frank?
Just on the lease here, says association will enhance food and beverage. Are we talking a restaurant or just what they're doing right now?
When we met with them earlier, they said they could do better. They're offering pizza and hot dogs, I believe, and to be honest, I haven't talked with them about that. I know that Audra's been in conversation with them, but I don't know if there are any plans for a restaurant going full bore.
Yeah, the only reason I asked that is we have to do some work on it because it is our building and restaurant, would be our, on us. So I was just kind of curious if anything was even brought up.
Well, over the past year, I believe we fixed their freezer, refrigerator units. We've done a lot of work up there. And it agreed, it is our building, so if there's issues, then they need to bring it forward.
Levi, do you have any questions?
No, ma'am.
I kind of have a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Having sat with, we have some members of the board here,
Right.
Lana Kaufman and Linda Lambden, who joined recently, and there's been a lot going on. In the fall, we have some other new board members, and they're much more, from my perspective, high energy and wanting to really expand the association's work and income. And one thing that, sitting there in the meetings for the year, I observed is that oftentimes the association doesn't understand what its financial responsibility is and what the city's financial responsibility is. And I was hoping that any agreement that we entered into for another year would be more specific about what does it mean that the association is going to maintain the golf course diligently and report maintenance concerns to the city promptly. I took a tour with their former golf, the guy who maintains the golf course, and he pointed out numerous places on the course that need significant improvement. The entire irrigation system probably needs to be replaced. There's a lot of stuff. Then in the clubhouse, there are other things. We finally did get some windows replaced, and that looks way better than the wood that had covered the windows. But I just think the confusion about who's responsible for what drives a problem for the association, because it's hard for them to make a budget to take into account whatever expenses they're going to have to cover if they don't really know. And as we went over budget negotiations this year, there's I don't know, Ms. Navarrete, if you recall, but I don't remember there being really anything in our budget for the golf course maintenance. So I just think it's really asking for problems for a whole nother year to not specify who's responsible for what and what the city is going to do or is not going to do.
Well,
Could I respond?
yeah,
Please,
sure.
thank you. And then you go right ahead. I just want to kind of interject, if I could, please. And I get all those concerns, and I would like to say, I was hoping to have an executive session on this so that we could talk about it before it came up. I'm sorry that time didn't permit us to do that, but I was hoping to be able to talk to all of you in confidence with, of course, Mike, and do this. As you can tell, I mean, this is a renewal of exactly what we had last year. And I apologize because all this kind of fell on Mike, is like, getting us into another year and kind of maintaining, the status quo, for lack of a better, term, and just saying, let's continue on with what we're doing. I understand there were a lot of gray areas, there were a lot of problems and issues. From our perspective, the city's perspective, I was hoping this would be kind of more just like, requiring them to do things. But you're absolutely right, and I get it. They need guidance. They need further, clarification of what the respective obligations are, and maybe even an executive session followed by a work session with a golf association. I mean, that might be helpful so that we can, just have a bit of clarification. This was necessary in order to just get us on into the next year. And again, it's just kind of, the same thing. But it fell on Mike. He was doing that. He was looking at all these things that we've done with the consultant. And I'm winding myself down here in a moment. But I just wanted to let all you know this, and that is kind of why we are doing what we're doing. We don't want to keep them in the dark. We don't want them not reporting to us either. I think we have a lot of questions about, more financial things and things like that. So I'm done. I am happy to answer any questions you may have, but I just wanted to say that because I know it just feels like kind of a rushed item on our last, special meeting agenda, and I apologize for that.
So are you saying that we could go ahead and enter into this and then do an amended agreement with them after we have an executive session and then have a meeting with them? Is that what you're saying?
We can, but in the meantime, I just think that it is good for both parties to have a continuing mutual, obligation, understanding of, the baseline of what we need to do for each other. And then we can all come together and meet, and, council can ask more things of them, they can ask more things of us, and we can, I have a lot of things that, come to mind, but just assurances that we can make them, budget considerations provided for, but a lot of things, and have that conversation. But this would just be to get us into the new year and have everybody kind of continue to operate under the same kind of not nefarious, I'm sorry, but ambiguous understanding. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know why nefarious jumped into my head. You didn't mean nefarious. So, it's just kind of ambiguous agreement. If that.
Well, I guess I'm just saying, is there a process that we would go forward then? Would we have some kind of memorandum of understanding about what the terms of that agreement mean? Is that what you're talking about?
We can, or simply, whatever you guys would like to do.
Well, I'm part of you guys.
Right.
I'm not part of those guys. I'm just telling you, these are my observations of what I saw and where there were some breakdowns and where I think it would be helpful to have clarification. So if what you're proposing is that we figure out a way to have clarification and come to mutual understanding about what these terms mean, I think that's a good idea. But I like you're saying, I was hoping that this would be done before we did this, but sometimes things just get done this way. So
That's right.
Yeah. When you were talking, Mike, aren't you basically doing that, drawing up something?
I am drawing
So
up a
that would
request for
cover-
proposal that would recover, just to be clear, trying to do the research on what agreement is in place. We have this second amended lease agreement. I couldn't find the lease agreement, so this is the second amended. We have the second amended agreement from last year. This is the third amended agreement to the second amended agreement, and there's 3 memorandums of understanding. Through the whole thing, trying to get the parties to mesh, the city and the association, and back and forth.
So you-
It hasn't been working, so I want to do an RFP to
Yeah.
kind of clear it up, but along with what Les is saying, to give everybody direction, including the association, since they have new members on their board. This was last minute, I apologize, but it ended on the end, it ended tomorrow. I figured, we better at least have something in place.
Right.
So basically, we can contribute as well as the golf association, when you draw up something to bring it to us, so that we could work on that in a work session and then talk with them. And then that would kind of clarify their responsibility and ours. Is that basically what you're writing up?
Well, what I'm writing up is a request for proposal for firms, for individuals, for the association to look at what we want up there
Right.
and say, we can do that, here's our proposal, here's how much it's gonna cost, here's, we do have funds in the lottery that go, it's not specifically identified for the golf course, but if they need things like fertilizer and stuff, we've done that out of the lottery. It's a city park, but that's my thought, and I think we could have the executive session and the work session. I'll have something shortly, because I want to do this. It was my goal to have something done 2.5 years ago, so I guess I'm here. I'm going to do it and put something before council.
Okay. I understand what you're talking about here. And, just as background information, don't apologize for this, because you had, this has been a year for council and for you, for sure. You came in, your pinch hitting, is that what they call it?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You know, and look what we've had to deal with this year. Budget concerns, we've had taken on an animal shelter we weren't ready to take over. You know, just different things, and truthfully, as the mayor for this past year, and even before that, I had tried to push the prior city manager to do something, and I couldn't get him off dead center. So this is not your fault. You know, it's been a year, truthfully. So, you know, I understand your concerns. My question is Ms. Ogletree still gonna be the liaison? Is that status quo?
Well,
I've added it in there, I left it in there, that provision.
so,
Do you have to act separately, or is it just an assumption that she goes forward?
why, I don't think that's being altered in
Okay.
any way. Okay, I mean,
Okay.
that's not, but yeah, I don't think that's being changed.
And the second, it's not a question more than a comment. I'm really concerned for the Golf Association, because looking through your finances, I mean, you're, at the end of November, you're in the hole by over $47,000. So do you have the financial capability of continuing on up there for another year, if that's where this lease ends? You know, that's a concern.
And I think that will be part of the conversation. I don't mean to interrupt you,
No,
I'm sorry,
no.
but part of the conversation, we can all, you know, address concerns and right when we have the work session with the Golf
Yes.
Association.
Okay,
Please.
all right. Just be aware, I mean, you know, I know it's tough for volunteers to do what you all are doing, and we do appreciate it, we really do. So thank you. So I need a motion to either accept or deny the one-year lease extension for the Trinidad Golf Association. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept this until we have other
Okay.
possibilities.
Mr. Shu made the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Mr. Trudeau seconds. Call the vote, please.
DeBono,
Yes.
Shu,
Yes.
Thurman,
Yes.
Trahell,
Yes.
Ogletree,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Griego.
Yes. Item 3, a resolution authorizing the filing of an application for findings of reasonable diligence and to make a conditional water right absolute import. Who be the guy?
Gil, that's so
Gil-
cute.
Gil would be-
Yeah, yeah, right.
All the volunteers take one step back.
Good afternoon. So this resolution is the city's, I guess, what was I gonna say? It's our effort to, make sure that the conditional water rights remain viable and part of the record. It's also a conversion of a portion of those conditional water rights to absolute. That's pretty straightforward. That's something we have to do periodically, but I wanted to talk a little bit about this
Yes,
water
do.
right, this decree, and also the decree that allows us to use reclaimed water from our wastewater plant. These two water rights are unique in that they grow as the city of Trinidad grows. So as Trinidad's water demands increase, the right to use this water increases. So what this is really about is securing water rights for future growth. The process we're going through right now, this will be ongoing for many, many years. I look around the room here, chances are, when we reach full potential of these water rights, we'll pretty much all be gone. future water supply managers will have to do this due diligence periodically to maintain the viability of this water right and to make sure it remains part of the record and make sure that these water rights get converted periodically. And so most municipalities, when this resource demand goes up, have to scramble to go look for water. They have to scramble to look for storage. This water right will take care of our growth. And because the exchanges allow us to move water into North Lake, Monument Lake, and Trinidad Lake, we have the right to fill and refill. So we don't need additional storage and we don't need additional water rights. We will be using the water rights we have to extinction. So this is a good thing. We are going to grow into this water right as the city of Trinidad grows. Okay?
Good job.
Gil,
Yes.
before they might have questions, but we have to have this done by the end of the year, and it's an extension as well, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, I'd appreciate if we can get it signed and get it off.
Ms. Ogletree, do you have any questions?
I have one question, does this, what you're describing is fairly complex, I think, but does it mean that we will get more access to water behind the dam? Is that what this does?
Okay, let's talk about the exchange decree that we're discussing today. That exchange decree allows us to move water that we are storing in Trinidad Lake upstream to North Lake and Monument Lake in the event that we need it. I want to make a distinction between that water and the water that we're using out of North Lake. The water we're using out of North Lake and Monument Lake, those water rights upstream are a one-time use. The water that we are exchanging from Trinidad Lake to North Lake and Monument Lake through this decree, we're allowed to use to extinction. So we can use it and reuse it minus evaporation and transit loss. That's an important distinction. The wastewater decree that allows us to use that reclaimed water, that moves water to Trinidad Lake. That water could be used for many reasons. It could be used, it's fully consumable, it could be used for recreation for your riverfront park, it can be used for municipal purposes, it can be used for agriculture, for water leases. But in addition to being able to move it to Trinidad Lake, we also have the right to move that water up to North Lake and Monument Lake. So there's an incredible amount of flexibility built into these decrees. And it allows us to use and reuse and fill and refill.
You know, given what's going on in the West with water, we are incredibly fortunate that we have these options.
Yes.
And thank you for staying on top of it.
Well, and you know, I want to remind everybody, we're standing on our grandfathers and great-grandfathers' shoulders. They started this, and of course my mentor, Jim Fernandez, who saw the future. I'm just here to play some time, taking care of business.
Thank you.
I think you're a little more than that.
Yeah. Anything else?
Mr.
Well,
Dillon?
just thank you, Gail, for your proficiency and your expertise.
Gil, you said that on this resolution, do we have one in standing? And this is just to replace the one that's in standing, or we don't have anything in standing?
The one we have in extending expires, that's why we need to do this.
Oh, so this
Yes.
is just a renewal of what we
Yes,
have?
yes.
Okay.
So, the way a water right works is when you get a decree, that's just paper, it's conditional. You actually have to demonstrate beneficial use. But part of that decree allows all of the opposers in that decree who eventually stipulated, that gives them a retained jurisdiction. So if we don't demonstrate this due diligence, they can come back and oppose again, and then we're starting all over again. So that's why we have to do this.
Does this coincide with the water attorney that we have? I mean,
Yes.
They wrote this up, or is it?
They're taking care of all the business,
On the end of it, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr.
have any questions, and I won't even pretend to know that I understand water law. I've been to one water board meeting, and that was intense. The amount of knowledge that you have in this is phenomenal. Thank you for being on top of it, and thank you for keeping us with everything that we have. Thank you, sir.
Thanks for an explanation on water rights and decrees. I appreciate that. Also, real quick, if you want to do a brief, what's the worst case scenario if we don't have a decree for this? Just real quick, I don't know what the other end of the spectrum is.
I think the worst case scenario is we're not in water court. We're refiling for a new decree, which is an expensive endeavor. It also, because water in the western United States becomes more scarce, the opposers, we may have more opposers coming in, state of Kansas. You know, everybody from Leadville to Kansas has the right to oppose us. And so it just gives them, it just opens up the door again. And we don't, and there's just a lot of, we don't know what we don't know there.
Gil, thank you for your professionalism. I have no further questions. They've all been answered. Thank you.
Okay, all right.
So absolute by definition means,
It's ours.
yeah,
Yeah.
concrete, no.
We have demonstrated beneficial use. A water right is based on beneficial use. And just to remind everybody, a water right doesn't mean you own the water, you own the right to use the water. You own the right to use the water beneficially.
There's two assets we have here, the water and a person like you in charge of it. I appreciate you so much. Thank you.
And I'm thanking Mr. Fernandez.
Thank you. I remember, and some of you wouldn't maybe remember, years ago, the city paid tons of money for water attorneys. And my husband was on city council at the time, and the water attorneys were coming from some place that they hired a private jet to come to Trinidad to negotiate, and the jet crashed and they were all killed. And it was like, yeah,
No.
yeah,
And our water attorneys were killed?
yes. Some of them,
Wow.
not all of them, but some of them.
Okay.
So we had to start, the city had to start from square one. Do you remember that, Mike?
I don't. That's why some I forget, so I don't remember.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ogletree, second by Mr. Shu. Call the vote, please.
DeBono,
Yes.
Ogletree,
Yes.
Shu,
Yes.
Thurman,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Trahell,
Yes.
Griego.
Yes. There being no further business according to our agenda for the special meeting, we're done. Thank you. Does staff have anything?
No, nothing to add. Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. It's gonna be happy for you, for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.